We spend so much time becoming. This is the sentence that is blowing out the internet, becoming. What about be? There is a step in life that most people skip, not because it is complicated, but because it is uncomfortable. It is the step of remembering who you are, not who you are trying to become, not who people expect you to be, not who you perform as in your life, but who you actually are underneath all of that. We spend so much time becoming. We spend years trying to improve ourselves, to be better partners, better parents, better workers, better versions of ourselves. And none of that is wrong. But somewhere along the way, we can start building a version of ourselves that is more idea than truth. A version that looks strong, a version that looks calm, a version that looks successful, a version that looks like it has it together. But underneath that version, there is still a real person with real reactions, real emotions, real limits, real patterns. And if we don't remember that person, we end up making decisions from an illusion of ourselves. Remembering is not becoming, remembering is not about improvement, it's not about upgrading yourself. It's about honesty. It is asking, when I am overwhelmed, what do I do? When I feel rejected, how do I respond? The real you. When I feel misunderstood, do I speak, shut down, or disappear? When I feel anger, do I express it, or does it turn inward? When I feel pressure, do I stay present or do I escape emotionally? These are not personality details. These are relationship realities. Because in long-term relationships, people don't experience your intentions. They experience your patterns. The self we ignore becomes the self that leads. What we often call growth is sometimes just suppression. We learn to hold it together. We learn to be strong. We learn to not react. We learn to appear stable. But being stable is not the same as being aware of your inner world. Because what we don't acknowledge doesn't disappear. It comes out in stress, comes out in conflict, it comes out in silence. And often it surprises even us. Remembering is coming back to the truth. To remember who you are is not to label yourself, no. It's to see yourself clearly, not to judge it, not to fix it immediately, not to compare it, but to recognize it. This is how I actually love. This is how I actually fight. This is how I actually cope. Not how I show. This is how I actually heal. This is how I actually stay connected. Because only when you see yourself clearly, you stop choosing from confusion. Why this matter? Why does it matter to know who you are, to remember who you are? Before you choose who you want to struggle with, you need to know how you struggle. Because if you don't remember who you are, you will choose people based on the version of you wish you were. You will expect yourself to respond differently than you actually do. And over time, that creates disappointment that was avoidable. Self-forgetting make choice unclear. Before you know how you struggle, you need to be willing to see yourself without performance. Not the version of you that looks strong, no, but the version of you that is real. Because that version of you is the one who actually shows up in love. Let me give you a very practical example from my own life to make this concept clear. I'm not someone who is naturally very nurturing in the caretaker sense, right? When someone is sick, I can take care of the basics. I can clean up, I can help, I can do what needs to be done. But I'm not the person who instinctively thinks, let me bring you soup. No, this is not me. Let me sit beside you and check how you feel every hour. No. Let me constantly ask what you need emotionally. That kind of emotional caregiving doesn't come naturally to me. And I didn't always know that. And you will look at me right now and be like, you are a mom. How do you do with your kids? That's not me. I'm not the person who will say, oh, baby, you sick today. How do you feel? I will ask, how do you feel? And I will give medicine. I will give hugs in the morning. But that's it. I'm not the person who will stand in pity and be. No, I'm not. That's not me. And it might seem cold, but this is me. Okay? So I didn't always know that. At first, when I became aware that relationships require care during sickness, my first reaction was avoidance. I remember thinking, not consciously at first, but underneath it, I hope my partner never gets sick. Because if they don't get sick, I don't have to face that part of myself. But that's not reality because today I have kids, right? Because in real relationships, sickness, fatigue, difficult season, they happen. They are part of life. And that was important to see, not to fix immediately, but to understand that and stop beating myself up because when you see other parents doing like being in that way, I beat myself off like, oh, I'm a bad mom, but that's not true. I'm not a bad mom, but I'm not that kind of, I don't have that emotional caregiving sense, if it makes sense. And I don't have to work on that. But now that I know that it is the way I show up, I do what is necessary. I'm not going to force myself to become that version of the caretaker I should be. No, because that will feel unnatural to me. I don't want to fix that. I don't have to fix that. So it was important to see, not to fix immediately, but to understand. Because when you don't remember this about yourself, something else happens. In the moment you do the right thing, you take care of your partner, you show up, you do your duty, but over time something starts to build underneath: resentment. Not because the other person did something wrong, not because they are sick, but because you are acting outside of awareness of your own internal limits and patterns. Because someone like me, I will force myself, before I would have forced myself to be that kind of caretaker who is gently checking, and that's just thinking about it, it gives me like irks, like that's not me. And it's not because I don't care, because I do care, but I'm not caring in that way. So it will build resentment. And that's where remembering becomes powerful. Because once I am aware of this in myself, I can pause in those moments and say, this feeling I have is not about blame. This is me hitting a limit I didn't acknowledge. Like, this is not me trying to become that version of me because it's about becoming. No, I don't have to become that person because I know my intention. Doing that kind of care will, for me, will exhaust me. I'm not the person who loves that way, no, I'm not that. And I don't want to become that because it will exhaust me to try to become. I rather give 100% in who I am. So instead of turning it into resentment, I can bring awareness into it. I can regulate myself. I can communicate better with my kids and my partner, with people I'm in relationship with. I can soften the internal resistance instead of projecting it outward. Okay? And over time, something important happens. You don't just force yourself to act differently, you understand yourself differently. And when you understand yourself, you don't build relationships from unconscious obligations anymore. You build them from awareness. And that's what I'm wishing you, to be aware of not becoming someone else, to know who you are. So this is why remember who you are matters. Because if I don't know this about myself, I might enter a relationship thinking I am something I am not. And then life will eventually reveal the truth anyway, but through frustration, resentment, and misunderstanding. But if I remember it early, I can work with it, not on it. I can work with it. I can work with it. I can say, when we will talk, in my previous video, I asked you to look at the person who they are, not who they are showing you. I can communicate early in my partner that this is not me. The way the caring, loving, that person is not me. I care in a different way. It is my truth. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying, and they become aware of the fact that I will never change who I am. No, I will never change that part of me, because for me it will be exhaustion. I rather be myself. And when they know who I am, they can choose consciously to stay with that version of me. Most people don't fail in relationship because they don't care. They struggle because they are acting beyond their self-awareness and not noticing where they are actually draining themselves. Trying to meet unspoken standards, internal standards. They didn't even tell you, my kids or my partner didn't even ask me to be that loving person, always checking in, bringing soap. They didn't even ask me, but I will force myself to become that person because I feel like this is the right way to show care. No. So they end up exhausted, misunderstood, and quietly resentful without ever realizing that the starting point was simply I didn't know myself clear enough in this situation. In terms of someone getting sick around me, I didn't know how I would handle myself. I thought that this is what the society told me. The society told me that you need to show, they need to show, they see in your in your face that you are compassionate. No, that's not me. I'm not showing, I'm not crying pity or being like, oh, how are you. That's not me. I know that that's what the society wants us to show, but this is not me. And that doesn't mean that I don't care. I care, but that's not how I show my care. I will be there, I will clean, I will be give the medicine, I will boost you. I'm the person who will tell you, okay, this is what happened, what can we do? This is who I am. I'm not the person who will be in self-pity, you cry, I cry with you. No, this is me. And I don't want to change that because I will exhaust myself, I will drain myself. And it's important to my partner to know that this is who she is, the real her. She is not the person who I will lose my job. She will be like, oh, I understand, you lost your job. She will be like, let's get up, let's go find a job, let me help you write your resume, let me help you apply, let me help you drive you where you need to go. That's me. I'm not the person who will stand and be like, oh, you lost your job, this is bad. Oh no, that's not me. I feel bad about you. How, what can we do? No, I would stand up because that's how I do with myself. I stand up and go, like, what can I do? That's how I behave with myself. And maybe I need someone who will behave differently with me, a person who will tell me, oh, too, who will help me feel actually, because I'm not in the feeling like emotional, being emotional. I'm not that person. And maybe I need someone who is different than me. Remembering doesn't shrink responsibility, it removes distortion. And that's what I am inviting you to do. Remove distortion. And once distortion is gone, you can finally work with reality instead of fighting yourself. That's why it feels like pressure drops on you, on others, on the whole system, because now there's no hidden performance happening in the background. Just awareness, just honesty, just choice. So the weight comes off when you remember. And maybe this is what remembering really gives us. Not perfection, not control, not becoming someone else, but relief. Relief, the opportunity to finally be yourself. Because when I remember who I am without judgment, without performance, without trying to fix myself in that exact moment, something very human happens. The pressure drops. I'm not trying to perform to being the caretaker who shows emotion in her face, crying and pity, and that's not me. I stop expecting myself to become someone I'm not in real time. I've stopped forcing emotional responses that don't come naturally. I'm someone who will laugh. Those emotions are easy for me to get out laughing. I can spend years without crying. And today I'm forcing myself to cry to release the pressure a little bit, but I'm not someone who cries easily. I stopped turning my limitations into shame, and I stopped turning my partner into the problem when I hit my own edges. And suddenly life becomes clearer. Not easier, but clearer. Because now I can say, this is me. This is how I show up in this situation. This is where I need awareness. This is where I need communication. This is where I need growth. Not from judgment, from honesty. And that kinds of honesty changes everything. It changes how you love. It changes how you choose. It changes how you stay. It changes how you struggle with someone. Because you are no longer trying to perform a version of yourself that doesn't exist. You are building from what is real. So before we ask, who do I want to struggle with? That was my last video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's important to, before you get into a life commitment decision like marriage or relationship, who do I want? Before we ask, who do I want to struggle with? Maybe we need to pause and ask something quieter, something more intimate. Who am I when I am in the struggle? And can I stay honest with that answer long enough to stop abandoning myself in the name of love? Okay? Because when you remember yourself, you don't become perfect. You become available. Available, you become able to be. Available to choose clearly. Available to love honestly. Available to grow without self-betrayal. Stop becoming for a moment and start listening to who you are actually. And that is where real relationship begin, not in the idea of who we should be. Because look at my example. Some people may judge me for not being the crying person, the emotionally, like, if you see me with my kids being sick, you'll be like, what kind of, no, you won't be like, I will do whatever, but I won't be, I will get up and let's go, like, let's do whatever we're supposed to do. People might judge me, people might feel like, but this is me and I'm not changing for anyone. I don't want to change that part of me. No, I don't want to become that kind of, oh, how did you sleep today? Oh, you sad. I'm sad with you. I'm not. I will be like, how did you sleep with today? But okay, how can we make it better? That will be my question. Practical. I can laugh. I'm emotional when it comes to laughing, appreciating gift. I'm emotional in that way, but not in the sad, bad ways, like sad ways. I'm not. And I don't want to be, because it drains myself. And I try to change. I try to be a better version of myself. I try to become a better version of myself in that area. But no, I don't want to anymore. I want to be me. That's how I show care. We like, let's get up. Let's do what we're supposed to do. Even me, if I'm sick, what can I do? Take medicine? I don't like medicine, so let's go to the gym. Let's take a walk. Let's drink something. Like, let's do something. That's me. And I love my partner to be like, oh, you, because it feels good to her to have someone who cries, who has that sense of the calmness, I don't know, of, oh, it's good, but it's not me. So I will leave you with this sentence. When I remember who I am, I stop treating my natural limits as small failures. They are not failures. They are just who you are. And I hope you are honest enough to face who you truly are. Stop becoming for a minute. It's good to becoming. But who are you? Tell me in the comments. I never asked this, but tell me in the comments something that is natural for you, that the society feels like it's not okay, you should be differently, but it's actually who you are. Tell me in the comment. Thank you for watching, and I'm Crystal.